Hello and welcome to the Galblade News. The first students are beginning to return for face-to-face teaching on UK university campuses, with a new term of compulsory masks and closed bars. Most students won't begin until the autumn, but veterinary students are now back at the University of Nottingham. They are the pioneers for how campuses across the UK could look as they reopen after the COVID-19 lockdown. The social experience will be more limited, but these are unprecedented times, says Registrar Paul Grittix. The first cohort going back in Nottingham are 150 trainee vets, some of whom will see a great deal of each other as the university adopts the bubble system, in which small groups will live as well as study together. The university is calling its households rather than bubbles, but it is the same principle of restricting the spread of infection by keeping people in small groups, which are kept separate from each other. Within these households of 3 to 10 students, there will be no need for social distancing or wearing masks, but where different households meet, the students will have to stay apart. Safety has to be the priority, said Dr. Grittix. The buildings are mapped out with one-way systems and hand sanitizer stations, and masks have to be worn, including in lessons by staff and students. Lectures will be online, and there will be in-person teaching for small groups, which is essential for a practical subject such as veterinary science. The student bars are closed and there are posters up for a pizza night that's going to be an online event. We can't emulate an all-night club experience through a Zoom chat, says Dr. Grittix, but he says the university is doing everything it can to create a sense of involvement. The students at Nottingham just seem very glad to be back and seeing friends after months of being cooped up at home and having to study online. They don't seem particularly daunted by the safety restrictions or that much of the socialising will be online. We were desperate to come back, says Amy Thornton. It will be different, but it was time to come back. She will be living in a bubble with 5 other trainee vets and isn't worried about the new arrangements or seeing too much of a small number of people. It's just nice to see people again, says Emily Howell. We're going to have to get on with it. The online lectures are useful, she says, because you can rewind them, but I can't wait to do practicals. Her flatmate, Lewis Asham, says he has no concerns about any risks from going onto the campus. It's safe, he says. Tom, getting his first chance to get hold of Snake and a bearded dragon called Barbie, says it's great to be back. The students don't mind the masks, but they're finding that dogs used in training don't like them, and it can set them off barking. It's also a relief to be back teaching in person rather than online, says Clinical Assistant Professor Sarah Cripps. Universities didn't close but went online, and the pandemic has shown the limitations of remote teaching, and how much is missed when students and teachers are not there together in person. And in the case of a practical subject such as learning to be a vet, which is all about handling, it's impossible to switch completely online. Dr. Grittix says reopening for the rest of Nottingham's 40,000 students and staff will be one of the biggest projects the university has ever faced. There will be staggered arrival times in September to reduce contacts between students in what is like a small town turning up, and there are plans if there are further COVID-19 outbreaks, either in halls of residence or in parts of the city where students are living. There is a strong message of reassurance about safety, not least to overseas students, particularly from China, who have been very doubtful of how well the pandemic has been handled in the UK. Dr. Grittix says he will be pleased if more than 50% of overseas students turn up as planned, with many universities fearing a financial hit from cancellations. Universities can introduce safety rules, but students are adults, and he recognises there is no way of preventing people in separate bubbles from meeting away from the university, such as going to a local pub, and it's not possible to put the same safety controls on students living in private accommodation. We'll try to regularly remind students about a sense of responsibility, said Dr. Grittix. So what do you think of this situation that students are going back with these bubbles? From my point of view, I don't see it actually working very well. I know universities like even my own Bournemouth University are trying to do things. I think there's a big priority list for those that need to be in the moment, be in the actual university for things such as veterinary sciences, or things that require physically touching such as machinery, engineering, anything like that. There's a priority for them, including nurses as well. And for anyone who doesn't have any of those courses, it will probably remain to be online. I don't know how they're going to actually get these people into the same accommodation. Are they going to actually be dictating to their students that actually you are only able to live with the people in your particular course? Because otherwise I don't see this happening very well. Say, for example, I was living with animation students who were actually in a different year to me. So I was taking hospitality. The difference in that means what would I do in that situation? Since I'm living with people from not only a different course than me, but a different year, and they were graduating at a different time to me, that becomes an issue in and of itself. You're going to have to put very strict measures to say, actually, this is the list of people you have within your course. You're going to have to create a list, provide whomever's going to be paired up as your bubble, and you're going to have to just move in together whether you like each other or not. That's the only way I see that effectively happening. But how that's going to happen, who knows. Whatever you think, leave your comments down below. Like the video if you enjoyed it, and don't forget to subscribe.